Now, when it comes to the president in Washington, D.C., and the United States Federal Corporation, Washington, D.C. don't have a governor. It's not a state. The only one that governs Washington, D.C. is the President of the United States. And the United States Federal Corporation resides inside of Washington, D.C. That's the only piece of land that the President governs over, along with the military or the armed forces, the U.S. Armed Forces. Those are the only things that the President governs over. The President does not have anything to do with what goes on in the states unless the governors are violating our rights. Now, the governors, we elect the governors. We're not supposed to elect the president. The Electoral College there's the ones that that's the one that elects the president. The Electoral College for the United States Federal Corporation. The legislative branch was created for electing a president, and it's called the Electoral College. The people votes in a governor. That governor is actually the president of their state. And the governor governs over the mayor, all the police, the law enforcement, and any departments that's attached to the state through a business license. Those are the only things they can govern. They are not to govern over the people that hires them, elects them. Because when you elect them, you hire them. So you're the boss. And they represent the people of the state. The governors do. So when you elect a governor, the governor is to do what the people of the state says. The people that they represent. They don't really represent the state. They represent the people of the state. The people represent the state because the people make up the state. And so when the governor wants to try to make any laws and implement them and enforce them upon the people are supposed to have a vote. And it's supposed to go by the majority of the people, the amount of people that's in the state. And if there's not more than half the people voting, in which that's democracy and it's communism, majority rules is communism. But if there's a majority that, the most that says, yes, we want this implemented, and then the governor sees it as law, signs it into law, because the majority says yes, and then has the police, the law enforcement, the state law enforcement enforce it. But there's no such thing as state law enforcement. The Constitution does not recognize law enforcement, does not recognize policing, the state being able to have policing powers. The U.S. government doesn't even have policing powers given to them by their Constitution. So none of them has authority over us. We're the authority over them. So they're not supposed to be making all these hunting licensing, laws for hunting licensing, laws for fishing license, laws for driving. They're not supposed to be making any of this. They don't have the delegated authority by the state constitution to do so. And the government doesn't even have policing powers by the Constitution to police the people in the states. So you're not a U.S. citizen because you don't reside inside of Washington, D.C. to be a U.S. citizen of the U.S. Federal Corporation. You are a state citizen, but you're not a resident of the state. Because the people make up the state. They don't just reside, they're not residents of the state, they make up the state. So we are the state. But if everybody in that is represent the state doesn't take the stand, because everybody has to 100% in court to say, you know, we all were violated, our laws were violated, we were violated when our laws was violated by this man or woman, and we all want them prosecuted. If that can't happen, then there is no violation of the state. There is no victim. It has to be everybody, 100% or none. Voting is the majority. See, and it sounds strange. It's hard for a whole lot of people to understand this. The people make up the state. The people don't make the laws. So therefore, if the laws are broken, the people only voted to have laws, and the governor wasn't injured physically. None of his or her property was damaged. Just imaginary laws broken. There's no victim. No victim, no crime. It's all imaginary. It's a utopia. It's all it is. It's a utopia. I want to live in this. It's imaginary. It don't really exist. I just right in here think it exists and on paper. That's it. It don't exist like you and I exist. It don't exist like this cell phone exists, but not as something that's living. So it can't be a victim. It can be destroyed, but it can't be a victim. You can't get in trouble for destroying the phone. So the phone can't make a complaint. But if the phone belongs to someone, it's their property, you destroyed it, so the person or the man or woman is to make the complaint. There's no crime without a complaint form from a victim. The state can't make a complaint form. The third party can't make a complaint form for the injured party or the one you victimized. That's plain and clear in their U.S. codes. A third party cannot complain for the victim unless you murdered the victim or accidentally killed the victim. That's a living, breathing man or woman. That's a victim. And laws are actually only created for man, not animals, not land, only things that belong to people. So if you go out and some piece of land, you know, nobody owns it, and you go out there and you destroy everything on it, you really can't get in trouble. Nobody owns it. Nobody's using it. If you go on somebody else's property, you destroy their property, you know, tear up the yard, cut down the trees, bushes, whatever, destroy their gardens or their flowers. Yeah, you can get in trouble. It was their property. They're using it. They're living on it. Or they got a business on it. It's in use. The state don't own anything. The state's imaginary. It can't own anything. It can't sign a contract stating that I own this. I own that. The governor can't own no land outside of what the governor buys. The governor didn't buy all this land. The government didn't buy all this land. The government does not own the land of Texas or the federal corporation. It don't own the land of Texas. It owns Washington, D.C. That's it. So the president has no say-so in what goes on in the states unless the governors are violating our rights. And the mayors. And the governor is supposed to do something about that. They only control those that work for them. And the businesses that has a license through them. So they work for them. Because then they have to do what they say. So they now then work for them. For free. And you get in trouble when you work for them. That's slavery. When you sign on and get a business license, you're actually working for them for free. It should be where when you sign on to get a business license, they pay you to work for them. And then you are paid to do what they say, to obey how you're to run your business. But instead, you're treated as a slave. You work for them for free. You take taxes out of people's paycheck for free. You work for them to make them money. And you don't get paid for it. How is that supposed to work? So, the governors are the presidents of the states. So Abbott's the president of Texas. And he governs over Texas. All the mayors, all the police, all the sheriffs. That's why they have a state sheriff. The state sheriff works for the governor. The state AG works for the governor. And they get paid. They're the ones that's got to obey their boss. Well, if we pay them, we're their boss. They got to obey us. We write laws against them. Regulations, mandates, rules, whatever, for them to follow. That's how it's supposed to work. That's like you going to work for a business and then all the people get together and say, we're going to force you, our boss, to do what we want. That's not how it works. It's the same way. We, the people, they work for us. They work for the people of the state. Because we hire them, elect. It's just another word for hire. So we're not supposed to be voting in a president for the United States government. We're not U.S. citizens. We're not in Washington, D.C. living there as a U.S. citizen to obey the laws of the U.S. and Washington, D.C. And we're not to obey the laws that any governor makes and tries to enforce upon us. He don't have that delegated authority by the U.S. Constitution and or the state constitutions. People need to learn the constitutions, especially the state constitution. That's our constitution. That's for we, the people of the states. And they are to obey it. And it's the same, that's what the 9th and 10th Amendment was created for. The 9th and 10th Amendment was created so the states can be separate from the the federal corporation. To govern itself. The people govern the state. The people are free from the government. 9th and 10th Amendment separated us. You have yours, we have ours. They don't teach us any of this stuff on purpose. They need us to be poorly educated on how this all is supposed to work. That's why they don't teach this whole system in schools. They want you to learn how to be a good, obedient little slave, and we're not supposed to be. We don't serve them. We hire them to serve us. And they switched it because 9 out of 10 people just bowed down when the police started coming down on them. Oh, they're scared of us because we have a gun and because that's what they see. And then now we can have authority over the people. If we stop that and tell them you don't have authority over me, everybody does it. Turns in those plates. Your automobile is not attached to a business to be a commercial vehicle. Look up the definition of automobile and commercial vehicle or motor vehicle. And you'll see the difference. A motor vehicle is a commercialized vehicle attached to a business to be used for business purpose. They cannot take those commercial businesses and work their motor vehicles in the private. That's under color of law illegal. And there's not supposed to be no color of law. No constitution recognizes color of law. The UCC was created under color of law. Color of law is a legislative branch. Something the legislative branch created. And they're all letting it just be imposed upon us. That's supposed to protect us from that. Legislative branch has not been given any powers to create laws. And then have the police enforce them. The police work for the executive branch. Or the states, really, because then you have the federal police, the U.S. Federal Corporation Police. They work for the federal corporation. The feds work for the federal corporation. The CIA, FBI, they work for the federal corporation. They're not supposed to be imposing any of their stuff in these states. We've been separated. The Pentagon's not supposed to have any say-so in any of the states. The Pentagon should be sitting in Washington, D.C. All of their federal buildings belongs in Washington, D.C. They don't belong in America or the United States of America. The U.S. does not belong inside of the United States of America. But they don't want us to know this. The gold fringe flag belongs to the United States of America, the military. And that proves that their military is over here occupying the United States of America by force. We need to kick all of them out, their post offices, and create our own post offices. The United States of America post office. We need to kick all of them out of here. The central banking system, they can work in Washington, D.C. That's where they can impose their fake money and their economics. Their dictatorship is supposed to only be in Washington, D.C., that 10-mile square, not in the United States of America. There's nothing in the Constitution that states that Washington, D.C. and the United States Federal Corporation or United States government has say-so in the United States of America. 9th and 10th prevents that. And you all need to recognize that and start enforcing it. You can write notices. When enough people is writing these notices, notices is, I guess, but when there are enough people, there's 1 million or more people that writes them, and each state has passes out what they've created to other people without a signature on it. They make one without their signature on it. The I so and so, a living man or a living woman, and then puts out writes out the notice of how everything's supposed to work. And this is what we the people it says. This is and they're to go by what the people says that resides in the states, that make up the states. Because the states can't exist without the people in them. There could be a governor, but how? There's nobody in the state to elect the governor or to represent the people of the state. So the people represent the state, not the governor. The governor represents the people. The people elects the governor to represent them, to work for them. Not the government. But they work for the government. They're supposed to be separate. And then the government that created the legislative branches to have their own people separate in that legislative branch, not the governors. But we're not a resident of the state. That's a made-up term created by the United States government or a federal corporation for local so-called government, which is actually local federal corporations. State of, it's a corporation. They no longer have it as California is a state, Texas the state, Louisiana the state. That's the way we're supposed to be calling them, under common law. That's common law language. The state of is U.S. federal corporate language. All these courts, they belong to the United States government. They're U.S. tribunal courts. Made or created to make money. That's it. Not to keep the people safe. When the police goes out there and does what they do, and they think that they're there to keep the public safe, the U.S. Supreme Court already said the police don't have the obligation to protect the public. So they are not out there protecting the public. They're out there making money, generating revenue for their businesses, not ours. We need to go back to common law jails, common law, now common law prisons, because there weren't any prisons back then. They were created later when they created the prison industrial complex. To start turning drugs into a crime, just having drugs, having guns into a crime. And most people that's arrested is for drugs in prison. And having money that has drugs, the dog smells drugs on it. Well, what if the dog is smelling food on it? Dogs go for food. All money has drugs, or the smell is tainted with drugs. So when they smell the money, they're going to detect that there's drugs on it. And so anybody that has a large enough amount of money can be seen as trafficking drug money. Because they say the dog smells drugs. They're making it up. And they get a little part of that money, and the Fed gets the rest. Or the FBI. The FBI gets the rest. And they get the majority of it. And the judges make money out of that. It's all about money. They ain't there to protect us. And these judges in these administrative tribunal courts don't have a bond certificate to even be seen and act as a real judge. So they're impersonating a real judge. Committing a crime. A federal offense. They're impersonating a judge. They're administrative clerks. Look it up. You can research it. So, I'm going to leave it at that. You all take care. Bye.